Hello and welcome back to Core Finance. I'm Matt Brown. I'm joined by Connor Campbell, who is a financial analyst at Spreadex, and we're going to look at the FTSE today. Actually done quite well, maybe on the back of the weak pound last week, reaching some new highs. Are we finally going to see a breakout of the FTSE though?
It is interesting. It reached new highs this week, but in sort of the dullest way possible. Obviously, you got that huge boost last Thursday off the back of the Bank of England sort of dovish rate hike and the pound's subsequent plunge. It's sort of teasing, 7570, 7575, but without ever, like you said, without ever breaking towards the 6,000 mark, which is, I think, what investors have been waiting for a long time. You look at the chart and it's been trading, around that 7,500 mark for a while now without really any momentum. I think the danger is for the FTSE that its momentum is reliant on what the pound does, and that does sort of cap its ability to then break out. This week, again, not much news. There's the manufacturing industrial production figures on Friday. How the FTSE reacts will likely be down to how the pound reacts. You've got Brent Crude, that's been helping it out a bit this week. If Brent Crude can continue to rise, then the FTSE, could at least solidify those highs. But even then, yesterday, it didn't. The situation in its commodity sector, there was a lot of green in that commodity sector, and it didn't necessarily translate to particularly robust gains for the FTSE. It was again, 0.1%, 0.2%, a bit of growth, but nothing really to be like, go on, the FTSE's finally broken ahead. In terms of what else the FTSE's got to focus on, it's sort of the retail sector this week. You had Associated British Foods report today that's fallen despite some, pretty healthy figures. I think adjusted operating profit was up 22%, revenue was up 15%, but it still fell, 3.5%, I think, based on some rather lacklustre like-for-like growth for Primark and warnings that adverse currency changes will affect its margins in the first half of next year.
And some weak retail sales, weaker than expected. So I think that's taken the shine off them a bit today.
You've also got Marks & Spencer's on Wednesday, Sainsbury's on Thursday and Burberry on Thursday. So three sort of classic British retail stocks. Especially Marks & Spencer's and Sainsbury's not doing too well at the moment, have struggled in sort of the wider retail landscape. It'll be interesting to see towards the end of next week whether the FTSE gets a bit of a retail headache. You saw last week with Next figures, that caused a few issues for the FTSE. So that, again, perhaps capping its ability to break out. Our clients, however, given that our clients have also been fairly supportive of the pound since it fell last week, they're also very supportive of the FTSE at the moment. It doesn't tend to be the case that both are receiving such support from our clients. There's a lot of buying around the 7,550 mark. Enough sellers to suggest that there isn't maybe the momentum to substantially break towards that 6,000 mark, but at least enough to keep it between 7,550 and then the highs it's seen at the start of the week.
Understood. And with regards to the FTSE this year, it's lagged. Let's look at the Dow and the DAX, etc. Could this finally be the point now, if we see if there is continued momentum, that it will start to attract those buyers in, or is it going to run out of steam?
It's interesting. The fact that it's held on around these levels for the last couple of months, despite being given reason to fall further than it did. As we were building towards the rate hike last Thursday, the FTSE could have fallen through 7,450 and lower. It threatened to do so a couple of points, but then held around that 7,500 mark. The fact that it's continued to do that perhaps suggests that there is room for a breakout. I guess it depends on what the pound does if and likely when the Fed raises rates in December. Then it could receive, a final boost in the final month of the year and head towards 6,000. I guess, like you said, it is significantly lagged to the DAX and the Dow and its peers. And even if it does end the year on record highs, it's done so in such a disappointing manner that it'll be a bit hard to celebrate it, especially in the shadow of sort of the remarkable achievements of its sort of German and American peers.
Fantastic. Well, we'll see if it can limp across the finishing line towards the end of the year. But in the meantime, Connor, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks very much.